You've heard the stories, right? Someone raids the fridge, cleans the entire house, or even tries to go for a drive, all while they're completely, totally asleep. Well, today we're diving headfirst into the weird and wonderful science of sleepwalking. So what is actually going on inside someone's head that makes them get up and move around without any clue they're doing it? For the longest time, it's been a total mystery. But you know what? Science is finally starting to give us some pretty incredible answers. Here's the key thing to understand. Sleepwalking isn't about being awake or asleep. It's this bizarre hybrid state. Think of your brain like a house with a bunch of rooms. During a sleepwalking episode, the lights are on in some of those rooms, like the one that controls movement, but they are completely off in others, especially the big one for consciousness. And here's maybe the best way to think about it. It's kind of like your computer booting up. Your body, the hardware, is switched on and ready to go. But your awareness, your conscious mind, that's the operating system. And, well, it's still on the loading screen. It just hasn't fully booted up yet. And that's the disconnect. And here is the specific glitch that's happening behind that loading screen. See, normally when we sleep, our brain hits this switch, a kind of movement lock that keeps us from, acting out our dreams. But for a sleepwalker, that lock doesn't quite click all the way into place. This leaves the body totally free to wander around, while the conscious mind is completely offline. Okay, so if that's how it happens, the next big question is why? What is it that actually triggers this strange state and causes the brain's sleep system to misfire like that? And I'm guessing this list looks pretty familiar to a lot of us. Not getting enough sleep, being stressed out, having a wacky schedule. These are things that can mess with our delicate sleep cycles. And you'll notice genetics is on there too. Yep, if sleepwalking runs in your family, you are way more likely to do it yourself. A fever can also be a major trigger, especially in kids. And that's because sleepwalking is way, way more common in children. Their brains are still developing, still fine-tuning all those complex systems that handle sleep, including that movement lock we just talked about. But the good news is, almost all of them just grow out of it. All right, let's talk about one of the biggest misconceptions about sleepwalking. Most people just assume that sleepwalkers are acting out their dreams, right? I mean, it seems to make sense, but the science actually tells a completely different story. And here's why that's a myth. Sleepwalking almost always happens during deep, non-REM sleep. That's the most restorative, knockout stage of sleep. Dreaming, on the other hand, happens in a totally different phase called REM sleep. They're two completely separate zones in your brain's nightly journey. And this really gets to the heart of it. The conscious brain never fully turned on. That's it, right there. It's exactly why sleepwalkers often look so confused or dazed. And it's why they have zero memory of their midnight adventures the next day. The part of the brain that records memories and makes you, it simply never got the memo to wake up. So while what's going on inside the brain is absolutely fascinating, we've got to talk about the practical side of this. What are the actual risks when someone is trying to navigate the real world in this bizarre state? The truth is, most sleepwalking episodes are totally harmless. The real danger isn't the walking, it's the environment. Trying to navigate a house full of furniture, stairs, or unlocked doors when your conscious mind isn't at the wheel, well, that's where the risk of accidentally getting hurt comes from. And that's why, for anyone who lives with a sleepwalker, these really simple safety measures are so important. It's all about creating a safe space for them to navigate. Locking doors, clearing stuff off the floor they could trip on, and just securing anything dangerous is a really smart precaution. Okay, so we've covered the what, the why, and the when of sleepwalking. But now we get to the really mind-bending part, the weird science twist that sleepwalking reveals about how we think about sleep itself. Sleep isn't an on-off switch, it's more like a dimmer. Just let that sink in for a minute. We tend to think about being awake or asleep as this binary thing. You're either on or you're off. But what if that's completely wrong? Because here's the thing, sleep isn't this global event that happens to your entire brain at once. It's a local one. Sleepwalking is the ultimate proof that parts of your brain, like your motor cortex, can be wide awake and ready to party, while other parts, like the prefrontal cortex responsible for judgment and consciousness, are deep, deep asleep. It really is a dimmer switch. So if the brain can actually exist in this strange, fragmented state, partly asleep, partly awake, it just opens up a whole universe of questions, doesn't it? What other complex behaviors or thoughts, or maybe even creative ideas, are possible in that mysterious twilight zone between being awake and being asleep?